This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. Good morning. We got Sam Schucker in the house. I tried to do it like Jeff does
You
it.
did, but I liked your version better.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. We got Al in pink looking good.
Fierce and red.
What do you mean? Okay, welcome to DBL, if you're still with us. It's a big news day in Washington. The U.S. is bracing for a costly government shutdown in just 8 days. So House Speaker Kevin McCarthy sent everyone home last night, go home, after failing to pass an appropriations bill, So I want to ask, what do you guys all think about another possible government shutdown?
So, Tori, the last one was in 2018. You knew everything about it.
Yes.
So fast forward to now, you know more about politics than anyone. Can you break it down for us? Because I'm a little confused.
Very easy. We all understand. Thank you for asking, but we all understand a household budget, and that's literally all that they're disagreeing on. So they had all come to an agreement at $1.6 trillion. We were all good. And then recently, they decided that they want $1.4 trillion. $2 billion is now stuck. And before we can move on, that stopgap needs to be closed. And that's really the basis of this whole situation, right? So the five hardcore Republicans that you guys might know, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Boeberts, the Matt Gaetz, they're holding up this $2 billion. And there's also, that's $200 billion difference. I'm so sorry with math, I'm not that great. And we are basically waiting to find out about that $200 billion.
What's the fallout going to be for everyday people?
So it's not great because millions of federal employees will stop being paid. That includes active duty military members. They're still required, though, to report to their posts. You got TSA and air traffic control workers will also stop being paid, but will still be required to work. Some national parks may close as well as some museums, and also federal aid programs like government-funded childcare or the aid to victims of wildfires in Maui will struggle to then continue payments. Now, thankfully, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the Postal Services will not be impacted at all. But as the White House press secretary said, Al, most Americans can't go without a paycheck on payday. The vast majority of our members can't even go without one pay period, let alone 2, 3, 4.
They know that, and they want their voters that are now broke and getting hungry and worried about how they're going to take care of their kids to put pressure on their political adversary. So that's really what this is, politics. Well, your kid doesn't get what they need.
Disgusting and deplorable.
Tori, I have to ask you, what do you think is really holding up both sides from reaching an agreement?
I think both want power. I think both are, and I really do truly think these five, who I've spoken out about, do think that we're spending too much. It is about spending. It's about stopgaps and spending. I think also there's
but Lauren Boebert seemed to be really stressed out about it at that Beetlejuice show. I'm gonna just say they had to refill the mini bar in that limo. I'm sure.
I think you are probably right.
Gutted was the word that they used.
That's right. Republicans also tried to pass among just themselves a defense military appropriations bill, and those five held even that up because of their disdain for more Ukraine war support. So these five are really holding up the difference in spending, and it's their philosophies, and they will continue doing it, and the government will be shut down, and we will lose about $140 million a day just in the U.S. travel economy.
People are really struggling.
Yeah.
And I'm really sick and tired of our government only thinking about them. They're going to phrase it that they're looking out for their constituents and
spending.
I don't buy it. So what has to happen in order for this to not happen so normal people can go back to work and I understand.
And get paid.
Right. Well,
they're going to work.
They're going to work. They just can't even get paid.
They're just not getting paid.
And true. Well, I believe some will be furloughed.
And they'll be and they will be retroactively paid, but some people need it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck.
Right, exactly.
So what do we have to do to prevent this from happening?
So the only way to avoid this, and much like a household budget that I spoke about, is that the Democrats and the Republicans have to come to agreement on the bill. Now the deadline is September 30th. So unless those people can resume the $200 billion and somehow get it down, they will have to keep fighting and it will be shut down. Now, as soon as these two come together, it goes to Biden's desk and he votes yes. And then it all goes back. But again, in 2018, we lost $3 billion. So expect to have a fight on our hands.
What a bunch of children. Can we just like shove them in there? Congress Hall
The Capitol.
and say you're not allowed to leave until you come up with an agreement.
That's what
you work for us.
Okay.
We are the
But
constituents.
I think,
you work for us.
Sam, I think they are working for a certain amount of people because some people are interested in the government allowing things to flow, and some people put people in there to obstruct. No one is expecting Marjorie Taylor Greene to go in there and be somebody that's
to reach
good
across
with
the aisle.
workflow and make sure that both sides are heard. She is there to stop business, and that is exactly what they're doing. That's why I said I don't think Lauren Boebert's outburst in that embarrassing situation. Would you even let somebody like that, if you had seen footage and that was like your son's girlfriend, wouldn't you pull him aside and be like, I don't know about this one?
Right.
She's there not because of her prowess with anything, not because of her restaurant. She's there to stop business because that makes your opponent look bad, because if they can't pay, guess what? Now they can't fulfill their promises to their constituents that we will give you child care, because when they run against them, they go, look, you guys, they said they were going to give you child care and they didn't because they're slashing that budget.
You're absolutely right. Government-assisted child care will also be slashed. I just want to also say this.
It's funny, we go after the kids first.
We do.
Because they have no voice.
They are totally helpless. Biden actually responded, and I think you're absolutely right on point. He said this, look, last time there was a government shutdown, 800,000 Americans were furloughed or worked without pay, but enjoy your weekend.
I just don't understand.
He sent them home.
Right. I don't understand how we have government shutdowns over this when we don't have a government shutdown over gun violence, when it's the #1 killer of kids and teens. We don't have a government shutdown over climate catastrophe. When we look around the world right now and our world is literally burning or being flooded. Those are two crises that we are facing right now. Where's the urgency to that?
Yeah.
That's called lobbyists, to be honest, because they're getting paid.
Money out of
as
politics.
You know, that's exactly
Money out
right.
of politics,
But
please.
Sam, the whole system would collapse. It's all money. How many people do you think get up and they're like, I'm really honored to be a congressman? That job is for people that like car services and free lunches.
But what about, let's take the other side,
reform.
though. Now, let's take the other side where you think we have been spending way too much money, and you sincerely think that you're going to put, like the writer's strike, a stopgap until this is resolved. Is that a fair statement?
But this only happens when the Democrats are in office. If it happened on both sides all the time, we would be more used to this. But it only comes up when the Democrats are in office. There's an embarrassing Trump trials, multiple on the horizon. They need other things to distract another set of keys, which is going to be Hunter Biden, and it's going to be the shutdown. Because you need to have this, because you had the Lauren Boebert thing, a huge embarrassment. I believe Tommy Tuberville is still holding up all military appointments, so we're lacking key officials. So there's a reason all this is happening.
Good button to end on. Coming up on DBL, a major lottery winner is coming forward, sharing why gaining a lot of money is both a gift and a curse. Plus, our interview with Food Network star Artie Sequeira, how she's blending food and faith in her new cookbook.
Okay. Tori and I, we had a great time last night hosting our charity event. We emceed, it wasn't ours. It's from Mercy Housing. Really happy to say we raised a ton of money.
Yeah, we did.
Kelly,
how much money did we?
You know, it's so interesting. Like when we do these charity events, whether it's Laugh Yourself Blue or Mercy Housing, the MCs, I'm always nervous too, because you want it to be successful, especially when the one the year before was successful. But you do see people coming together. We had a family, a woman with cystic fibrosis. She had one younger daughter with special needs, another super young daughter, probably 4 years old. And we spent hours with them before the show. And after, they gave Mercy Housing is providing an incredible place, their first place ever.
And we became very close with the people that we were.
You can tell what happened after we took them off stage.
Wait, which what?
With Jenna Lee and her daughters with the job.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh! So we did an interview with Jenna Lee. Her kids, by the way, Camila, I'm gonna bring her here. She's a born actress. Okay.
And Claire.
Amazing, and Claire. And afterwards, we had an interview. They sat down, and I saw a man approach Jenna Lee, and he kind of whispered, and he was at the big table, you know, like the important table, the big sponsorship table, and he came over and whispered something, and she got giddy. And as we're walking her out to her car, she whispers over and said, "That gentleman just offered me a job." And she's had her degree in medical billing and in cosmetology, but she wants to go into medical billing. And he said, "Whenever you have the time, when you're ready, you can come. I'll have an open position for you." And she was tearing up. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Tori, I have some lottery tickets for you.
Welcome back to DBL. No one won the Powerball jackpot on Wednesday, which means tomorrow you have a chance to win $725 million. Speaking of lottery winners, this Michigan woman won a $70 million Powerball jackpot, but because of the laws in that state, she was required to reveal her identity in order to claim the prize. Here's the problem. She didn't want to come forward publicly ever. Since then, she's had to watch as people online use her name to scam people out of their hard-earned money, and ultimately, she had to change her own name.
I wonder why she didn't want to go public.
I know.
Right.
Now she's pushing to change the law, good for her, so winners can actually remain anonymous. And there's about like 6 states that make you go forward, and including Michigan, over 10,000.
Good for her.
I know.
What a disruptor.
I know.
Okay, so let me just give you some odds of winning the jackpot. Number one, 1 in 292 million, okay? And then also in relation to, when you win the lottery, we've all seen the shows. No, it's 1 in 292 million, not billion. It's million. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say it right. I'm being told multiple different things. It's 1 in 292 million.
Got it.
70% of big lottery winners end up going broke. And that's our biggest concern, right? And then also 44% of winners spend their entire fortune in 5 years. Now, some of that fortune is given to people.
Right.
Because you have family members, distant family members, friends. A lot of people come out of the woodworks.
Right.
So I think that's another angle here. Yes, you have to worry about online scams and all that, but you're going to have people trying to take money from you that maybe you haven't even talked to.
Right.
Maybe
or
you don't even
that
like.
you have, because as soon as you know what, Sam, it's so weird. You used an important word there. You said broke, and it made me think of there was a series on ESPN called Broke that I didn't really appreciate. It kind of highlighted all the athletes, the young guys that got a big contract and went broke. And it's always like underneath the surface, like, look how stupid these people are. First of all, they never highlight the agents or the accountants that stole all their money. I guess that'll be another series. But you know what they do is they do a good job of highlighting that these 22-year-old kids are now asked, hey, your uncle, he's been out of work. Hey, your nephew's in a wheelchair. He could really use. How many people, when you come from a working class or lower working class area, how many people do you know are hanging by a thread? And now those people are coming at you. He's the only one in our family that's got a chance to go to college. Sam, you would cave to that. I would cave to that.
I would, yeah.
And now make that times 25. So when we sit and we don't teach people how to be financially literate, but yet we kind of sit back and wonder why it's 70%. It's because of things like this. There's a reason that the 1% have all the money. It's because they get training on how to handle it.
It should be anonymity and also having mandatory literacy training.
Financial advisor.
Yeah, financial.
Give them an advisor.
Before you get the money.
And then once they tell you, then if you do it, fine. But just don't, leave
them alone.
Right.
Push them out on a boat. Speaking of lotto winners, do you all remember the guy in California that won the $2 billion jackpot last November? Well, reports are, just like we were speaking about, he's purchased yet another gigantic mansion. So first he snapped up this sprawling estate near the Hollywood Hills for a cool $25 million. That's here is the estate. Then a few days later, he reportedly bought this much more modest $4 million mansion. And finally, most recently, he reportedly bought this $47 million Bel Air home, complete with a giant infinity pool. What do you guys think of the mansion and the shopping spree?
It's stupid.
Right.
It really is, and I'll say that only because
stupid.
Financially stupid,
Right.
and I'll only say that because if you spend between $400,000, $800,000, all the way up to $5 million, you have a really good chance of your real estate appreciating.
Right.
So I applaud him for investing in real estate. But when you get to those really, really high numbers, there's a very limited amount of people worldwide that can afford those homes, and they know that. So therefore, even if they do or do not appreciate, because it's such a limited pool, you have a chance. Let's say you are a billionaire in Japan. You have a chance to be like, no, I'm only going to give you 40 million because it's going to be that hard for you to
unload that.
Unload
Yeah.
and the monthly cost to upkeep these homes. So I wish, again, invest in real estate, but have a financial advisor tell you which properties to invest in.
Why don't they do that? Is that because is it just, what do you think?
Because why do they care?
Wow.
Why would they care?
Right. They make
I'm
money.
not trying to sound glib.
No, you're right.
It's just there's no incentive for teaching your citizenry how to handle their money better. A lot of this economy is based on fleecing the people that don't know what's going on, including myself.
I was just going to say, including me.
I would be horrible.
I was just going to say that.
Horrible.
You're absolutely right. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Chef Artie Sequeira. She's telling us how her new devotional cookbook can raise your spirits even on the hardest of days.
It's the only cut of meat in the pork family
Wow, not real hot.
that's called a steak. And in St. Louis, the pork steak is a barbecue favorite. And one of our 5 on Your Side employees asked the Verify team about its origins.
Summertime in St. Louis means pork steaks. But what I want to know is, were pork steaks invented in St. Louis?
Clark, let's verify. Our sources, food historian Robert Moss, Schnucks, Google Books Archives, and newspapers.com archives. The Schnucks website claims members of the Schnuck family in the 1950s wanted to offer a cheaper cut of meat for grilling, and the pork steak was born. But Moss was able to find newspaper clippings mentioning pork steaks in the early 1800s. There's also books mentioning how to cut and cook pork steaks that were printed in 1916 and 1933. The first mention of pork steaks in St. Louis supermarkets dates back to 1913, when local supermarket Remley first advertised the products at 12 cents per pound. When the Verify team asked Schnucks about claiming the invention of the pork steak, the company spokesperson said, "As you can probably figure, there is no one who is working at the company now that would have been around back then. So I can only provide the information that has been given to me, which is the same that is on our website."
It's possible that Schnucks had ever heard of a pork steak, and a butcher there came up with the idea, and sort of independently, and they figured they invented it.
We can verify, no, the pork steak was not invented in St. Louis.
Welcome back to DBL. Artie Sequeira, her meals aren't only delicious, they really are reused as the glue to connect faith, family, and culture. Earlier, she told us how to find enjoyment when cooking for the family. Great interview. Check it out.
Please welcome Artie Sequeira.
CEO of Hungry.
I love that.
Artie, let's get to it. Your new cookbook, Unwind, by the way, it's quite heavy.
Isn't it a beautiful book?
It's great. It incorporates your passion for food as well as faith. So how has your faith given you a new special view on mealtime?
Well, I think that I realized that, I was walking in after a really full day of everything that I do, and I'm sure it's the same for all of you, and you get to that moment where you have to make dinner, and it feels like salt in the wound. It feels like an insult. And even as someone who does it for a living, I was like, how in the world am I now going to make dinner when all I want to do is have a cocktail and go to bed? And so for me, I realized that meal prepping was helpful, meal planning is helpful, but what really needed to change was my heart. And so for me, walking into this space, into this kitchen and going, hey, this can be holy ground when I invite God into it, changed everything, because now I realize that I can bring all my fatigue, my anxiety, my fear, everything into the kitchen with me. And that's when God can meet me and kind of walk with me through that process. And so this time, which feels like it's all about everybody else, actually became a time between me and God. And once I figured out that my heavenward connection was solid, then I could pour out into my family.
I think when I know, isn't that beautiful? When God's watching me cook.
Erica just had a moment.
I know. I think when God's watching me cook,
spiritual.
or he or she, whatever,
real.
they're like laughing along with me as I make mistakes. mistakes, and it's very, very comforting. I agree with you. Let me ask you about family dinners. Do you think?
Jewish?
Yeah, I believe in God, and my God is laughing with me as I burn every piece of food I hand my husband. Do you think? You know what? Do you think people today have become too far removed from family dinners, which was a big thing growing up for me?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, even when I was growing up, we didn't do family dinner near as much as I wish we had. My husband did it every single night. And I just feel in this day and age, I think our kids have it harder than we did growing up. There's just too many distractions, too many things pulling them away from the family table. And it's such a simple, easy way to sort of fight against it, right? Like we take time to go through pows and wows at the dinner table, to talk through the highlights and the lowlights, to just spend some time laughing with each other and connecting with each other. And it's this tiny little thing, but over time, it sews these hearts together because there's something really magical about breaking bread with somebody, even if you do it one time. But if you do it night after night after night, it connects your hearts in such a way, it aligns your breathing, it aligns your thoughts, it aligns how you think about the world. And I just think it's one of the most powerful things we can do as families.
Amen.
Yes, child, breaking bread is my love language. And this book is so well done. There's so much power in this book. You can feel it. Now, cooking several times a week for many people can feel like a daunting chore. For me, I get super excited that I'm like, oh, I'm cooking.
Great.
How can we find enjoyment in what can seem
Is this a
like
spatula?
a time-consuming task?
For me, it can be, lighting a candle, only cooking a couple times a week, marking that transition time by like making yourself something nice to drink. Just make it a moment of, okay, I'm doing something that has bigger ramifications than I can see, because how I show up in the kitchen is how I'm going to show up in the rest of my life, whether it's doing laundry, having a hard conversation with my kids, taking a big meeting, shooting a new Food Network show. If I get into that practice of allowing God to enter into every one of those things, then I'm going to be a greater conduit for his love and his purposes.
Beautiful. Stunning. Artie, thank you so much for joining us today, DBL Nation. Pick up a copy of Artie's new book, Unwind. Thank you again. Congratulations. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We got this email from longtime nanny Karen C. She said a younger nanny is working for a local agency and is underpaid and overtaxed by the agency by giving her 1099. Would you please do a verify segment on whether nannies are or are not 1099 employees? So let's get the facts. Our source is the IRS and Mark Stieber, tax information officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. The phrase 1099 worker stems from the IRS form number 1099, which is the form a company must issue to its independent contractors. 1099 workers could be freelancers or self-employed workers who complete particular jobs or assignments but are not employees of the company. Since they are not deemed employees, these workers are not paid wages or a salary. Instead, they are paid according to an agreement or contract between them and the company. How can businesses distinguish between people who should be paid as employees and those who are 1099 workers?
And there's a 20-factor test that's been around for decades, but there's really 3 buckets that you need to look at.
Stieber says the 3 big buckets are behavioral, financial risk, and relationship.
For example, as an employee, I have to be at work at 8 o'clock. If I was painting someone's house, as long as I got the house painted, they wouldn't care if I showed up at noon or worked all night.
As far as financial risk, he says as an employee, you would get a salary or an hourly wage. And the relationship would be, do you receive set time off or sick days?
If it works like an employee with hours, behavioral control, financial risk, and everybody kind of knows wink and nod what you are, you probably are.
Stieber says there's no way to verify yes or no whether a nanny is a 1099 worker because it all depends on how the nanny's job is structured. But employers who misclassify a worker hoping to avoid taxes can be in for a rude awakening.
Penalties with improper worker classification can be severe and harsh. They can go back as far as the statute is open and nothing's been filed and back assess all of that money, including the federal taxes, state taxes.
If you are trying to figure out whether you qualify as an employee or a 1099 worker, you can submit an SS-8 form to the IRS. They will tell you which category you fall under. We have that link on our website, WCNC.com. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
It could be cheaper to travel this fall. Let's connect the dots. If you're still scrolling through everyone's summer travel photos, we've got a little bit of good news. A new report from Hopper says prices on airfare are falling for folks looking to squeeze in that last trip before the holiday travel rush. Airlines tend to lower prices in the fall to help boost demand during the so-called shoulder season. But that's not the only reason we're seeing a drop. Travel experts report a slowdown in what's called revenge travel. That was the post-COVID trend of people racing to book these vacations as soon as travel restrictions were lifted. So what do prices look like? Well, for domestic flights, fall prices are averaging $211 down. That's close to $90 from the summer peak. But the prices may not stick around. Experts warn jet fuel prices could push airlines to do away with the discounts. And that's connecting the dots.
Welcome back to DBL. When is the best time to work out? Never. Just kidding. It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. Well, according to a new study, working out between the hours of 7 to 9 a.m. supports more weight loss. So rise and sweat if you want to see greater results when it comes to your fitness goals. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. So call 1-800-725-2612 or visit omegaxl.com for more information. Before we go, I want to tell you a little bit about a special event that Al and I emceed last night.
All right.
It was a fundraiser right here in Denver for Mercy Housing Mountain Plains, which is the largest nonprofit for affordable housing in the entire country. Now, Al and I were very honored to be part of it, and the event raised close to, we just found out this morning, $400,000.
Guys, that's huge.
It is huge, and all the money, and we mean all of the money, will support the resident programs that Mercy provides, as including, we see financial literacy, children's early education.
Right, they provide the wraparound services that people need, and this is an organization I started working with during COVID, so I did their first, fundraiser via Zoom.
Yeah, I remember this.
Remotely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from my living room when no one could leave. And then the second one, it was just me kind of in front of a green screen at a facility. So now to move it into the ballroom with my girl, man.
I was honored to be part of it, Al.
It's really cool. And look around Denver and different parts of this area. Like, you'll see Mercy Housing. This is a real thing. It's a tangible thing, changing lives.
And we desperately need it here in Denver.
Where can people donate?
Definitely go to mercyhousing.com or org, and you can check it out. It's called the Mountain Plains. That's what we raise money for. But again, a big, big shout out to Ellen and all the staff that helped and made it possible.
Right.
DBL's new. We'll see you same time, same place Monday. Be safe, y'all.